My friends, welcome to pretty much what will probably be our last video for inequalities here, and I think this is maybe the best one because we're going to really hit the why. Now understand, whenever we try to understand why something works, it's like twice as hard. I could explain to you, hey, 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay, but why is it 0? And anytime you ask why, it complicates the problem. That's why in the previous video, my friends, we just understood how to do it. Now that we hopefully understand how to do it, let's just try to understand why it makes sense. So this first one, here's the equation for the graph. Notice it's a dotted line, that's why it's like that. Starting value is -1, which you can see right there, and then you go up 2/1, that's why it's plus 2x. But again, we can rewrite them in either way, it's just up to you, and I'll kind of go through different ones just so you get comfortable with both. So let's start with this here. Determine all the solutions to the inequality when x is equal to 2. So we're plugging in 2 for x, right? So we're taking 2, so we have y is greater than 2x minus 1. We're taking positive 2 and plug it into here. Well, when x is 2, what's happening? Well, when x is 2 on our line, we're right here in the ballpark of 3. And well, what's happening? Well, we'll get to it. So we know 3 should be involved somehow. So let's plug in 2. And if we plug in 2, we're going to get y is greater than 2 times 2 minus 1. We get y is greater than 4 minus 1, because 2 times 2 is 4, and we get y is greater than 3. So according to the work that we just did, we get when x is 2, this is saying that our y value should be greater than 3. Well, does that make sense? Well, it kind of does, right? If you're here at x equals 2, that means you need to be big. Your y value needs to be bigger than 3. So notice how at 2, in order to satisfy the shaded region, you need to go up. So 3, 4, 5, all right? Well, why does it make sense that it's not less than 3? Well, if you go down over here at 2, notice that this is decreasing. So in order to satisfy this inequality, we had to have be bigger than 3. So hopefully that makes sense, at least just in terms of plugging in x, what that means. Here, let's try to understand this. This is really the hard one right here. And this is why things become exceeding level, is we're going to try to understand this. Okay, my friends, let us begin. So here we go. So we have our inequality, and I guess I'll choose something new, like a very bright and beautiful green. No, I want something even better. How about this nice blue? Okay, we have y is greater than 2x minus 1. So determine all the solutions to the inequality when y equals 1. So now we're going to plug in 1 for y, which is right there. So if you plug in 1, we get 1, okay, and we get it's greater than 2x minus 1. So in order to, we can figure out the answer to this problem using the graphs by looking at this, okay? First things first, what does the 1 represent? The 1 is representing the y equals 1, right? We plugged it in there. Well, look on your graph. Where's y equals 1? Well, this is your y-axis. 1 is right here. And you'll notice it's touching the line here. So we asked, where does it touch our line? It touches our line here, okay, on this dotted region right there. What's the x value? Well, the x value happens to be 1. But I want you to read this. What is this saying? This is saying that 2x minus 1, that's our line, that's this dotted line right here. Okay, obviously I can't follow it perfectly, but that's our dotted line, needs to be less than the y value of 1. So that's what this is saying. Our line needs to be less than 1 for the y value. Okay, our line needs to be less than 1. So let me ask you this question. Well, does it make sense for our line to go in this direction? No, because the y values are increasing. We want the line to be less than 1. So our line needs to go down in this direction, because now in this direction our y values are decreasing. Well, if I'm going in this direction, what's happening to my x values? Well, my x values are getting less than 1. In order for this to work, we need our x values to be less than 1, because what if our x value is 2? Well, it's at 3 and it has to be less than 1. So we know we need our x values to be over here from the left, so 1 all the way to the left. So let's solve this and see if that makes sense, right? So we need our x values to be less than 1. Let's solve this and see if that's exactly what we get. So we need to add 1 to both sides first. Get rid of any addition or subtraction. I get 2 is greater than 2x. Okay, now I'll divide by 2. Because the 2 is positive, I don't need to flip the inequality. And I'm going to get, I'll write it over here, x is less than 1. And I like to write this with the inequality, okay, the x being to the left. So x has the 1 dot next to it. And then I'll do this. Okay, boom, boom. And then it's a 1. And there it is. Well, x needs to be less than 1. And the only way we could understand this was to have to look at this here. This pretty much is giving us the biggest hint. When x is less than 1, that means my y value will be less than 1. Okay, my friends, let's get onto this second problem here. First things first, what I wanted to hit on, okay, is I wrote these equations here. Now, it should be y is less than the 2, y is less than the line because our shaded region is down below, okay? So I just wanted to fix that real quick. Our starting value is -2, which is right here. Dotted line doesn't have the equal to symbol. And I just want to show you where this 2x came from, just because I thought it was kind of cool. Notice that my scales are going by 2's. So when I go like this, usually I go, okay, we go up 1, so that's 2 over 1. But that would be a silly mistake because our scales are by 2. So this is going up 2, another 2, so it's going up 4 over, and it's not 4 over 1 because again it's scaled by 2. It goes to 0 to 2, so this would be 4 over 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and that's where I got the 2x, okay? But that's not important. Let us begin. So determine the solutions to the inequality when x equals 2. Well, when x equals 2, we're somewhere around here, right? But we can't equal 2, but I'm just showing you this is where it touches the line. And if I draw a little arrow going up, does that touch my shaded region? No, it does not. Okay, right here, does this touch my shaded region if I just draw a line going straight down at 2? It sure does. So when x is 2, I bet you the answer will be y has to be less than 2 because that's the only direction we can go to satisfy the inequality. So let's write the inequality. I guess I'll write this one here, -2 plus 2x. Now let's take the 2, plug it in for the x. We get y is less than -2 plus 2 times 2. We get y is less than -2 plus 4. And then we finally get y is less than +2, which is exactly what we got right there. Okay, that's just kind of showing you. But really the big money ones, my friends, is this one right here. And that's the one that we're going to really try to understand. So I got to plug in. So let me write the equation. I'll go ahead and go back to the theme of blue for this. So let's write y is less than -2 plus 2x. This is saying to plug -6 in for y. So I get -6 less than -2 plus 2x, okay? And here's the thing. You know what? I'm going to write it over here just because it's that important, okay? We need to first understand what this is telling us, and then we can begin to solve it and understand it. So what is this saying? Well, this is saying that our line, right, this is my line right here, okay, there it is. My line needs to be bigger than -6, needs to be bigger than -6. Notice how I have to read this from right to left. So my line, okay, needs the y value to be bigger than -6. Okay, so we need to be bigger than -6. Well, here's -6 right here. This is here's the y value at -6, and it's touching it right there. Okay, touches a -6, the y value, it's where the line's at. Well, we need to be bigger than. Well, is that this direction? Well, no, it's not, right? Because if I go in this direction, it's going to get smaller. We need the line to be bigger, so I need it to be going in this direction here. Well, how do I express that? Well, what does that mean about my x values? Well, that means is here's -2. We know x, right, has to deal with a -2 because that's when y is -6, that's where my x value is at, and it's going to this direction. So if I'm going in this direction, that means my x values need to go to the right. So my inequality is probably going to be x is bigger than -2. And let's solve it out and see if we actually get that. We need to add 2 to both sides. We get -4. We're left with 2x. Divide 2 to both sides, and we get x is bigger than -2. Again, I'll put my 3 dots. I like to rewrite this with the x variable to the left, so put the 3 dots here, here, and x is bigger than -2. And if you just did it, you really wouldn't understand, okay, x is bigger than -2. Well, what does that really mean? Well, really, we had to look at this. This is really where we're going to understand what the problem is telling us to do. Okay, so I wanted to look at a problem that dealt with negative slope. So let's go to maybe this problem here, okay? This is going to deal with negative slope. And let's try to understand why we have to flip the negative sign. So I guess we'll stick with this one here, okay? +6, there it is. So y is greater than or equal to, because it's shaded. So let's just, don't worry about let's just focus on this part here. Determine all the solutions to the inequality when y is 4. So let's plug in 4 into this function here, 6 minus 1/2 x. Okay, here it goes. And let's try to understand this. Well, 6 minus 1/2 x, that's just this line right here, right? That's the line. Well, this is saying that it needs to be what? Less than 4. So we need to be less than 4. So here's 4. My y value 4 is right here, which is right there. We need to be less than 4. Well, which direction is less than 4? This way or that way? Well, if I go to the left, this is increasing the y values going up. If I go to the right, my y values are being less than 4. So I already know the answer to this is we need to be x is less than 4. Okay, so let's begin to try to understand that x is less than 4 because my x value is there. Okay, so let's try to understand this. Well, I need to subtract 6 to both sides. So I get -2 is greater than or equal to -1/2 x. Okay, to solve this problem, let me just put some space here. Okay, -1/2 times x. So I'm just going to multiply both sides by 2 over 1. 2 over -1. Basically, I'm just multiplying by the opposite of the fraction. I'll put over 1 here, and then over here is going to be 2 over -1. Let's pretend I don't flip this, okay? Let's say I don't flip this, and these are all going to cancel, so I'll get x is less than or equal to 2 times -2 is -4 divided by -1, right? The negatives cancel. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. We get 4 over 1, which is just 4. So we get 4. So let's write this way, which will be like this. X has to be less than 4. Well, that doesn't make sense, right? Because that would be going in this direction. That's why we have to flip it. That's why when you divide or multiply by a negative, that means our inequality has to flip. So we're going to get, when our equality needs to flip, so now it's going to look like this. And we get 4. And now rewriting that, we get x is less than or equal to 4. Okay. I forgot to put the equal to symbol just because it's a shaded region. That's why you have to flip it when it's a negative. It's the only way to help us solve this problem here. Okay, so in this very last example, we'll do it very quickly. This is going to be the last example and we're done for the day. Okay, our equation here is y is greater than, because it's a dotted line, here's 4, and we know we're decreasing. I have to go down to 4, so down 4, so -4 over 1, 2, 4, 6, so 2, 4, 6, so -4 over 6 x. Okay, let me just get rid of that over there. We get -4 over 6x. Okay, and we're plugging in 8 for y, so plug in that for y. Boom. Okay, and just read this. This line needs to be less than 8, so let's go to 8. The y value is 8 up here, and we'll put it here. Boom. We need to be less than 8. Well, that's going down this way, right? So our inequality should be x is less than -6, my friends. And that would be the answer. So I want you to solve this out and see if you get that when you flip the inequality. All right. With that being said, take care, because this is